Having 50-50 custody has been the most difficult part of my divorce. Having my son, and we get to hang out together, and then, the next day he goes to his mom's house, and the next day he's back with me. There's this constant disruption in things where we're trying to connect with each other. And some of it is that I have less time. And some of it is there's like an interruption in the flow of engaging with him. And I don't know which part of it is more disruptive, but in 2020, that was like, it was the worst. And that was the year that I realized, like, I gotta figure something out, right? Like, I'm trying to connect with him with Minecraft and Roblox and Fortnite. And every time we play a video game, it feels like he's playing his own game and I'm playing my own game. And, we're not connecting through it, right? Like, we're playing, and then he goes back to his mom's house, and it's like he comes home and now he's not really interested in the thing that he was just previously interested in. And, it's like, it's put me on the back foot in our relationship for a long time. Like, trying to connect with my son has been so difficult. And so I wanted to kind of break down some of the things that I figured out over the last few years that have really helped me to connect with my son, because I was failing for like a decade, and it was like to the point in 2020, it was like we didn't like each other at all. He was about 10 years old, and it was a bad year. But since then, we've tried to cut down on playing like video games together. And we've tried to be playing real games. It started with like Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and I picked up one of the starter boxes for Dungeons and Dragons, and I was just gonna like, hey, let's just try and go through this Icespire Peak campaign, right? And I was just winging it and making it up as I go, because I didn't read the whole book. But it started us off on something, and like when his friend got to jump off of his back onto a dragon's head, and it was like this imaginative moment where he and his friends were connecting through it, and that started to snowball into stuff to the point where we had like a weekly game every Saturday, and it was like my wife, my current wife, I don't mean current wife, I got remarried. My wife, our friend in Thailand, and my son were starting to play Dungeons and Dragons, and it was a good time. Here's 5 things that I've learned over the last few years trying to play games with my own son. So if you're trying to play real games with your kids, let me take you through the list. Number 1, find a game that has an adjacent hobby. Something where you get to like create miniatures or build terrain, where there's something creative. Because if you get your kid interested in the game and then also the hobby side, there's a fluid motion that happens where the hobby side interest encourages the game side interest, and the game side interest encourages the hobby side. And you can get that thing flipping over and over and over again, because the moment your kid paints up a miniature and then they get to go kick your butt with that miniature, it's a really ecstatic moment for kids. Look for a hobby side game. 2, complexity. I initially thought that easy games would be best. Like it'd just be, if I could just find a game that the kid can learn in 5 minutes and then that's it. There's no more complexity to it. I don't think that's true. I think it's better to find something that has a complexity where the kid is going to learn the more advanced rules as they play. Something like Magic the Gathering does a really good job with this, where you can make an easy start out deck and play that and have a good time. And then you can actually start crafting decks and get more deep into it. And there are board games and tabletop RPGs and war games that have a similar type of game mechanic and complexity to Magic the Gathering. So look for something that has some depth to it, some complexity and depth. Number 3, terrain. Kids love terrain. When you can build out like a little city of houses and villages, and you can put a miniature down inside of it, it's almost like you're building a video game level. And the thing that kids really love about video games is that, that exploration, right? Let me see what's over here. Let me see what's over here. So if you can create that on a game table, there's an aspect of that where you're building a video game for your kids to play. And that is something that makes it easier for kids to imagine the situation, because, they don't have to imagine nearly as much, and it's helpful. Number 4, if you can get your kids' friends into the game, that's another cycling loop that can be really beneficial, because your kids being interested in the thing is great. But if their friends aren't interested, there's a disconnect. My friends aren't interested in the thing I'm interested in. Maybe I'm not interested in that thing. But if their friend comes over and goes, hey, can we play that one board game that we played last time that was really fun? Then, it reinvigorates your own child's interest. Number 5, video game adjacent games. There's a lot of games that are coming out now that are very similar to video games. So there's a lot of different games, board games, tabletop RPGs that you can get that if your kid likes video games, no matter what kind of video game it is, there's very likely a board game that plays in a similar way. So if you find that game that your kid likes, that's a video game, there's probably some kind of board game similar. And that's a really good type of game to get, because it's going to scratch the puzzle solving itch, or the very meticulous thing that they like to do in that video game. It probably exists in a board game or RPG or war game. And actually, one last point about all this, let's call this point 6. Find a game that you're interested in. As much as it's good to find a game that your kid is interested, find something that you're interested in as well. And so if there's a hobby thing that you like doing, find a game that works in that hobby. You look over here, this terrain is stuff that I love making. I like using these markers and painting up the terrain. I'm going through roads right now, and this is something that I love doing, which means that I get to continue to support my son and his friends by building these levels and building these terrain pieces, and it's something that I love to do. So now this is like my hobby. It's been a blessing connecting with my son these last few years while we've been playing real games together. I still play video games with him, but the connection has never been the same as playing real games. Being at a real table with my son and being able to look at him and roll dice and move our miniatures around. Over the last few years, I've spent a lot of time trying to learn about tabletop RPGs and war games and board games and card games, because I wanted to understand how to connect with kids through these games. So if you're struggling to connect with your kid and you're interested in trying to play real games with your kid, let me know down in the comments. If you try these 6 tips, I think it'll improve your odds. Kids like playing real games, but they don't necessarily know how to pay attention to them the way they know how to pay attention to video games. But once you get a kid past the threshold of playing a real game, video games don't compare. God bless you, and good luck connecting with your kid.